Let's take a look at example 7, where we have to pretty much mimic what we did in example 6. We have an exponential. We have e to the power of 3x minus 2 plus 2 equal to 5. And we are trying to solve for x. So basically what that means is we want the letter x to be alone. We want everything else to be away on the other side. So step 1 in the problem is to isolate the e. We would like it to have so that the problem has this term by itself. So step 1 is isolate exponential. Okay, to isolate the e term, all we have to do is subtract 2 from both sides, and we end up with e to the power of 3x minus 2 equals to 5 minus 2, which is now 3. So this is how we isolate the term, and now keep in mind we're still looking for x. So once the e exponential term is isolated, the next thing we do is apply logs to both sides. And in this case, since we have the e, we're going to apply the natural base so that it cancels out the e. Okay, so to apply logs on both sides, we're going to write down pretty much ln, and then the original problem, 3x minus 2. And we're going to put, again, ln, and then we're going to put the 3 that was originally there. Okay, now that's what we do in step number 2. Why do we do this? We do this because the property of ln that is listed right here in the table in rule number 3 says you can swap a power and write it in front of the ln if you wanted to. So I'm going to use that third rule basically. So step number 3 is use the power rule. Okay, so I swap the power to the front, and keep in mind we are looking for x. And step 4 is get rid of ln of e and replace it with the number 1. Okay, again, I know how to do that because of rule number 4. Rule number 4 says ln of e is equal to 1. This is the reason I chose ln versus any other logarithm. So I could use that trick over on this one. So replace it with 1. So there we have it. And at this point, the 1 is not going to matter a whole lot. So what we're going to do next is just solve for x. So 3x minus 2 is equal to ln of 3. So we're going to move the 2 across. So we can have 2 plus the ln of 3 that was already there. And then we're going to divide by the 3. So this is going to say 2 plus ln of 3, all divided by 3. So at this point, plug this in your calculator and let's see what kind of estimate you get. So this is technically the exact solution, but we would also like to have an approximation just to get an idea how much the number is. And as usual, we typically like to round to 4 decimal places. So finally, x is 1.0329 when I round to 4 decimal places.